Here's how I'm currently 6 months pregnant after 5 previous losses. So I'm going to quickly recap our journey for any of you who don't know it. So first of all, we've been trying to conceive since March 2020, so it took us just over 3 years in total. In that time, I did have 5 miscarriages, and the furthest we made it was just shy of 7 weeks. For us, the answer was not baby aspirin. I don't even think it was progesterone, although I was on that as part of my protocol. The reason I think that it wasn't that is because I was also on that for the loss prior to this pregnancy. So from the time span, you can probably gather it was actually taking us quite a while to get pregnant each time, only to sort of repeat previous events and end up with another early loss. Now for me, everything changed when after our 5th loss, and by this point we'd had all the tests on the NHS, clotting, Leiden-5, autoimmune, everything came back perfect. All my husband's tests came back perfect, and yeah, I found myself once again in the early pregnancy unit with them confirming that I'd had another miscarriage. It was then my nurse who took me aside and recommended I look at a particular clinic for some treatment. In all fairness, I was asking her, is there anything else I can try, because I couldn't deal with the fact that we didn't have any answers. It's very, very hard not to blame yourself if there's no reason for the losses. My nurse did say that she's seen a lot of tests done privately and she's not really seen many results from them, but there was one test that she was highly recommending and said she had quite a lot of patients who had found success after having this done. And that was NK cell testing, specifically uterine NK cell testing, not of the blood, because it can be different. I actually had my testing done through University Hospital Coventry in Warwickshire, so that is actually an NHS hospital, but they did a private clinic called the Implantation Clinic. Now there's a lot of research going on, I believe there still is, and the Implantation Clinic was always subsidised by Tommy, so it was actually a lot cheaper anyway than if I'd found anywhere else, and they did tests that were so much more in depth because it was obviously ongoing research. And the only reason I needed 2 biopsies is because they had to be done around about 10 DPO, and I hadn't actually successfully ovulated on the first biopsy. Which, by the way, if you're not already aware, that can be quite normal every so often for that to happen. And in the full 3 years we were trying, I think it happened 3 times where I wasn't able to confirm ovulation, which is very normal. Which is particularly annoying that it did happen when I had the biopsy planned and I had had a peak test as well, so it was just, my body had tried but hadn't succeeded. I did know that my BVT was off, but I was hoping it was just my measuring. Clearly not. But either way, after our second biopsy we got our answers. My NK cell count was low, and also they did something called a DEFT test, which is a digital endometrium function test, which also came back low, and that's to do with how the uterine lining transitions from a regular sort of period lining to a pregnancy lining, which is obviously more long term. My uterine lining came up as being prone to breaking down in early pregnancy, which had been the case for me previously. So I was just given treatment, which was just a tablet, 1 tablet a day to take, actually a diabetes medication, but the side effects of it was that it did increase the stem cells in my uterus. Now, I only took that for a month. I was prescribed a 3-month course, but I was told that I could actually try and conceive naturally in the meantime, because we were actually looking at IVF to get our embryos tested at this point. But we did try and conceive in the meantime, obviously, and the first month of doing so resulted in this baby girl. It's also worth noting that that clinic did actually check up on me a few days ago, and when I told them my success story, the midwife who I was speaking to was saying that she's heard so much success from people taking sitagliptin to the point where people are actually requesting it without this diagnosis, because as seems to be the case with us, it actually seems to be helping people conceive sooner because it seems to be getting the lining ready as well. So interesting. I wonder if they'll keep doing more research on that. But if you were in the same boat as me and you are having losses and you're struggling to conceive in between, or even if you're not and you're just having the losses, I would highly recommend that you looked into getting your uterine NK cells tested, because I would do it 100 times over. The biopsy's not fun, but it's more than worth it.